Welcome back to another video. This is going to be a video podcast to where the whole crew that went on the Colorado elk hunting trip last year, we sit down, we break that trip down, we relive some memories, and it's going to be a great time. The majority of this video will be kind of you watching us sit, lockdown shot, and talk. You can also find the podcast where podcasts can be found on the iTunes thing. Search Live Hunting Company. We got a couple episodes out already. This one is our third episode. It's going to be great. We have lots more plans coming up with the podcast to kind of keep it going more consistently. We have some cool guests lined up. So that's going to be a great time. Looking forward to that.
What do you say, Bubby?
Here's three of the crew.
Hello.
This is the pre-vlog to the video podcast.
Let's just go in. You want me to lead the way?
Just an Aaron's in there.
You want me to just go?
Just give a little peck. There's.
I'm going in.
There's.
Yeah, there's.
Let's go.
Go ahead, Bubby. I need a smaller vlogging setup.
It's fine. It looks like you're professional.
If I'd have known Dan had on Crocs and them little skinny legged pants, I wouldn't even let him in my vehicle.
They're downstairs already.
Thank you for letting us invade tonight.
This keyboard is.
Dan, I just realized what kind of pants and shoes you have on.
And you rode here with him?
I told Jerry, I said, if I knowed he had them on, I wouldn't let him in my vehicle.
What is it? These drink.
Crocs and
These
whatever them are.
These are world famous.
Them are Mick Jagger's.
These have been in Colorado. I killed turkeys today.
This has to go to the
I haven't been in the back country out there.
Jeremy will use.
They really have. This is a behind the in case you're wondering how the amazing sound comes through. This is the magic right here. This is the main guy right here. What do you say, buddy?
Nothing.
How are you?
I got the computer up and running, so
Oh, really?
yeah. If we don't need to use your recorder, we can do
No, we don't. I mean, I'm sure that's way better than my little recorder. This is epic.
Is that
Yeah, he said he might be a
well?
little late. He said he'd just join in when he got here.
I mean, you can't beat this setup right here.
Archery practice or something.
Got these cute little lights.
Like you're in a prison.
Nice salt ramble. We got that in those last 2 miles we ran up every road.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another Live Hunt and Company podcast. This is episode number 3, I believe. And tonight is a special night. We have all the crew here, and we're going to be talking about our trip out west this past September. It was, as always, these trips are just, they're really hard to put in words, but we're going to try our best. We're going to relive some memories. We're going to look back and reflect on some good times, some tough times, some hard times. And I'm just super excited to dive into it. This has been in the works and we've been trying to plan this for quite some time now. We finally got everybody together. So we got the whole crew with us. Let's just go around, say your names, and then we'll get into the story.
Got John here.
Brian. Jesse.
Aaron.
Daniel. Justin.
Yeah, so we got all 7 of us here, and of course, if you're watching the video of this, you can see the main man, the backbone over there, Mr. Logan Bray. Thank you for hooking us up with the awesome sound. So cool. Let's just dive right into this. This past September, I believe it was the second week of September, we departed for Colorado, and so we left in 3 teams. Well. You can call it. John was a one-man deal. So, John, let's just jump into your
It is a team.
Your plan of attack and what you wanted to do this past year.
Well, this was my 3rd year going out west, and the first year, 2019, when I was going out there, I was originally going by myself, and a buddy of ours, Mike, ended up going with me. So I had been wanting to kind of do dibble dabble in solo stuff, and just to see how I would feel out there by myself and be alone, all that kind of deal. So this year, I just kind of decided, I got it okay with my wife. She was cool with it, so I left a few days early.
What
And
day
I
did you leave on?
Sunday.
We were just talking about that. I don't
I
know.
think it was Sunday.
It was,
wasn't
it was a Sunday.
So I got up, left on a Sunday anyway. I was going to try to hunt a little bit, but I was also going to go out there because we were going to a new unit this year. We'd been hunting this place the last couple of years that we were pretty familiar with. So this year we were going to a new spot, and so I wanted to drive the roads, kind of figure out where we could get access at and that kind of stuff, and try to hunt a little bit. And that's what I did. I went out there 3 or 4 days before you guys got there, and the first spot or two I visited, I went to one spot, and I'm telling you, everybody in the state of Texas was in there. It was unbelievable. It looked like tent cities in Haiti after the earthquake. It was craziness. So I marked that spot out. Mark that spot out.
Well, he was actually, you went to Haiti too, right? The reference there, so you know what that was like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But it was just tents everywhere. It's craziness. So I marked that spot off the map. Went to another spot or two, and finally, after I'd been out there a day or two, I was out one morning before daylight, and I actually had stopped on the edge of the road and was outside of my truck there.
You paying?
Yeah. So, and lo and behold, I heard an elk bugle, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" And it was in a real obscure place, kind of like a little hidden place. You couldn't really. You kind of had to walk up and over this hill, and you dropped in this little basin. And I'm telling you, it wasn't half a mile off the road, and there was 3 bulls in there. So I got to monkey around with those for a day or two before you guys got there, and it was an interesting experience, man. I mean, guys that can go out there and solo hunt for 8 or 10 or 12 days, my hat's off to them. Mm-hmm. I think I could do it, but I wouldn't necessarily want. I mean, that's not my preferred method. After dibble dabbling in it, it's just easier when you got somebody to bounce ideas off of and have some little bit of communication during the day. I mean, it's doable. Golly, it's rough.
I think the camaraderie's one of my favorite aspects of this whole thing.
It is. We've talked about that 100 times, how that's part of it. But like I say, it was just something I kind of wanted to do. So got it out of my system. And be honest with you, it's pretty good feeling when 2 or 3 ugly looking rednecks from Kentucky roll up on you after you've been by yourself for a few days.
Yeah.
You're pretty happy to see somebody. So
yeah, so that was, and I think that's like let me go ahead and do a disclaimer, or not is that the right word? I don't know. We want to say that we are not professionals. Right. We do not claim to be professionals. No. We are simply sharing our experiences, which most of which are failures. So we're not trying to tell anybody what to do. We're just sharing with you guys our experience. But I think that is a good tip. If you can go a couple days early, it helped us, because as soon as we rolled in, like, you had elk found. And if we'd all went together, would have spent those first 2-3 days just trying to locate elk. And that really, when you're trying to crunch all this into a 10-day time frame anyway, I mean, if it takes 2-3 days to find elk, then you're only left with, at max 4 or 5 days of hunting by the time you're travel and everything else. And so that was a really big help for us.
And, yeah, you usually lose a few days to weather. So, yeah, you're right.
Yep. So teams 2 and 3, so myself, Dan, and Brian rode together out there, and then Jesse, Aaron, and Justin rode out together. We left on the same day, that Wednesday, correct? Yeah. Is that right? Yes. But you guys, you guys left a few hours before we did, I think. Yeah. So, so once you guys just dive into, so let me give a little backstory first. So John Andrew went out there first. He was by himself. We followed in on Wednesday. And so when we got there, basically there was 3 different teams. There was Jesse, Aaron, and Justin who got together, who split up and went to a different area. About 20 miles or so away, Brian, Dan, and myself met up with John at one location. But when we started hunting, I was with John, and then Brian and Dan were together. And so we had kind of like 3 little teams of hunters that were all in different little locations. So once you guys just dive in, crew, Justin's crew, Aaron and Jesse, you guys with your experiences and the travel down there, and then what your plan was as far as when you started hunting.
Well, I think we did a lot of e-scouting, and really liked this area. I guess which we'll talk about. I guess traveling, we didn't have any hiccups, no problems. No. I would recommend this to people though that are thinking about doing this and thinking about going west. Find some buddies like we have found that don't care to drive at night, don't care to be tired, because the way system we did was every time we filled the truck up, we switched drivers. Mm-hmm. So we was only driving in my truck.
Well, me and Justin drove 4 hours.
Yeah.
Jesse drove about 2.5.
I got like 2.5.
Jesse figured out how to not drive as much. He just went a little faster.
Okay.
So,
What that fuel mileage and how that works.
but we would just switch out every tank, and we got there in 20 hours or something. So it wasn't bad
at all.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, we split up, I think, 4-hour blocks. Is that right? Or no, did we do 8 hours?
We did 8 hours.
Oh, yeah, we did 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
so
was nice after you got done with 8 hours.
Yeah,
And I drove out there myself, and I almost died.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable, really.
Yeah.
It really is.
Who drove first for you guys?
Brian drove first. I drove through the night, and then Dan pulled up the morning shift. Yeah.
Brought us through Kansas, boys.
We listened to the
Colorado
entire
state
Meat
line.
Eater campfire stories book on the way out there.
Yeah, we did too. We on the way home we did. But yeah, we got there, and I think we got there a little bit before you guys, and we made a Walmart run and got some essentials, some water and things. And
Shout out to Miss Bray and them. Mama Bray. I mean, we had no snacks in
God.
that
had
cab.
snacks.
Oh my
tortilla
gosh.
stacks.
So what's
Stacks
the
on
name?
stacks.
What's the name of those little things?
Tortilla stacks.
Tortilla stacks. So it's a tortilla.
Tortilla.
With cream cheese,
Shredded
Salsa.
cheese.
salsa, shredded cheese.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Sour cream maybe.
It's just
Maybe not.
nostalgia for me because I go back to 2 years ago when we come out of that snowstorm,
Yeah.
and that I can feel the way that Coca-Cola felt in my hand, and like that first bite of that little quesadilla thing. I mean, it was
Yeah.
anyway.
A tortilla
Phenomenal.
stack, a Starbucks double shot energy, and Bear Grease podcast. That's how I made it, boy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we learned about Daniel Boone on the way out there.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
during that
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we made a Walmart run, and we met up briefly with you guys. I guess when you got there, wasn't
Yeah.
far behind us at all.
and that's such a. I was reviewing footage and looking back on that, and it's such a unreal type of feeling that because this is something we talk about this year round, and like build up to it, and then looking back at that footage of like all of us together, standing in the place that we talked about, and like looking in the mountains around us, and we're like, it's like, you know, it's is it Dumb and Dumber? It's like we're really doing it. We were really there.
Well,
You know?
you can e-scout and Google Earth all you want, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Like the first area that we mapped out that we went to was a great area. It really was. It was a really good area. But we had a plan to go not far, 3 miles in, and you can't see deadfall. You can make out a little bit of vegetation on e-scouting, but you can't see, every detail.
Yeah.
So you're moving at negative 5 miles an hour.
Yeah. 3 miles in that terrain would have took a full day.
Oh, yeah.
I just because you're constantly.
Yeah, you're climbing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Did you want us to go into that first few days, or do you want to?
Yeah, go for it.
Let me
'cause you-
jump in there real quick. I'm
Yeah,
back
go.
on the trip. Sorry, but one of my favorite parts on the trip was getting the snaps or whatever from Daniel
how'd it go?
Let's stinking go.
Stinking go, Colorado.
Like you, cupcake.
Yeah.
Those were awesome. I mean, the excitement and stuff.
Yeah.
Never snapped
It really hit Dan when we pulled over at the Colorado sign.
Yeah, I got a video of myself. I was like,
yeah.
Pretty sure I beat you to the sign, like to the state of Colorado. We raced.
It's on footage. I've got footage of it. I don't remember, but yeah. So when we got to Colorado, you guys wasted no time.
We did not.
Justin
I'll let
Bray's a
Aaron talk
madman.
about that.
Let me tell you something. Thank God that
Jesse-
we did our workouts leading up to it, because Justin
Yes.
Bray's like, "Hey, we're here at Colorado. Yep, there's the mountain. Let's go."
Yeah.
That's like
Sorry.
straight up.
We stood there on the side of the road, and I mean,
That's
we was probably
Justin's
there.
MO.
God.
Yes, it is.
We probably stood there on the side of the road and waited for them for an hour, because we shot our bows and everything, and got all of our stuff out and packed our packs,
Yeah.
and then drove up probably another mile and a half
Maybe.
up the road,
Far, no.
and just dumped over.
Yeah.
into that
So we
spot that
found
we had marked.
the spots we had marked and we really liked was very limited access, which is why we liked them. So we basically pulled off the side of the road at a small parking spot that wasn't very popular. There was one rig there, and thousands upon thousands of acres of hunting ground. So
We felt pretty good about it.
we felt great about it.
Yeah.
And
And then
Well,
what happened?
I'll let
Aaron?
Aaron talk about it.
Well, I mean, like the first, we was
You get
planning-
revved up to go,
you
right?
get- yeah, like you jacked up.
Yeah.
We're getting out of the truck,
Mountain ops.
pulling
Yeah.
our back. Yeah.
Yeah. So you and Jesse talk about that too, because this is your first.
First time.
You're out of the truck. You're ready to go.
Well, I know I said, like in the last podcast, I said it's going to be real for me when I put that pack on my back and slam that door behind me.
Yeah.
But it didn't really get real at that point for me. Like, it got real for me. Like, I guess, because the first part of it, we was planning on hiking down, crossing this, river. I guess it was a river or creek. And then hiking up the other side. And it was pretty steep up the other side. But, I mean, it wasn't nothing that I didn't think that... I mean, I've climbed hills here that steep before. Maybe not that long, but we was planning on going, what, a half mile? Not even that far in. We didn't make it that far. But I don't know if it was altitude sickness or what that hit me. But I was fine going down. I was fine crossing the creek. I was fine going up the other side. About halfway up, it hit me. My heart rate, I guess it was when my heart rate got up, working myself. So my heart rate would get real high, and all of a sudden, like tunnel vision would start. So I'd stop for a second because I was like, I'm going to pass out. Well, then when I would stop and my heart rate would go down, I'd get like extreme nausea, and I threw up a few times, actually, like vomited a couple times. And I was like, man. So we stopped and got us I put some water in me, trying to fill that. I think I might even ate a snack.
Yeah.
Because we thought my sugar might be low. We didn't. I mean, we was trying everything. So we strapped back up and went on up a little bit farther, and it started doing the same exact thing. So Justin was like, the next flat spot we find, we're just going to go ahead and set up camp.
Yeah.
And I was worried, like, honestly, I was like, before I do this, I'll go down to the truck, hike back down the mountain, get in the truck, and, go acclimate for a couple days or something. I don't know what I need to do. But we went to bed that night and woke up the next morning, and I felt fine, like nothing had ever even happened.
Yeah.
Because we kind of thought about that. We said if we wake up the next morning, you're still feeling sick.
That's what I said. I said if I still feel that bad in the morning, I'll load my stuff and I'll go to the truck and you all keep hunting.
Yeah.
Or I'll go find the other guys or do something, But I don't know. It was scary. It was honestly it was pretty scary.
Because we were heavy packs too, so we were planning to hunt for 3 days.
Yeah.
And so we packed heavy. I mean, we were spiking in, so that could
I
be
was
part
too
of it.
heavy too, probably.
I remember
my
feeling
first trip.
Jesse's pack and
Jesse
thinking,
was
my
too heavy.
goodness, this is a man.
85-pound pack.
How heavy was your pack? Do you know?
We don't even know. We don't weigh them, do we, Jesse?
I don't know. I just
we
put it on
carry
and
'em.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
We ain't worried about it.
Slap
it's
them on
probably
and
about
go.
35, maybe, plus water. No, it's probably about 70 pounds, I think. I think it was about 60, 70
He had
pounds.
14 pounds of camera batteries.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we were
I
prepared.
tell you what, though,
No, we were ready.
if I ever am stuck on top of a mountain on the other side of a bunch of blowdown and I need a couple guys to come get me, Jesse and Justin would be the two I'd call.
For sure.
Because Jesse don't care about blowdown. He'll just run right through it.
You wouldn't call me.
Probably, yeah. You're on good.
You don't have to lie on the podcast, Aaron.
We're getting real here.
You're on there.
But,
It'd
but going back to it, that
that
was a real moment there because, like, all the planning and all that is not something you plan for.
Right.
No,
Well, no
plans go away, too,
Yeah.
when that happens. You know, we plan to go so far in.
we didn't make it half that far.
No, we made it about halfway
Yeah.
of what we wanted to do that first day. And that's just
And I was
something to
so
think about,
sick,
too. Is
man.
like when something like that happens, plans don't matter anymore.
No.
You know what I mean?
They was like, you need to get some food in. You get some food in. I got one of them peak chicken Alfredos out. Oh, I ain't ate Alfredo since. I tried to eat that stuff. Oh man.
Yeah.
I ended up trading the other one I had off to Brian,
me.
I think.
No, you traded it to me. Yeah.
Yeah. I had traded off. I couldn't
And you
stand
feel
it.
so helpless out there. I mean, everything's stripped away.
When I laid down that tent and the way I was feeling, I was like, man, I started thinking about it. Like, I'm a long way from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wasn't a terribly long way, but it wasn't an easy way. Like, I had to get back down off that mountain if I started feeling, but I don't know. I prayed and lay down, went to sleep, and woke up a couple times in the middle of the night.
I was gonna say we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Aaron,
was this the same night?
Tell us about the time you woke
Same
up.
night.
Aaron he's been known to have a few spells.
I'm a sleepwalker. Like, I have been since I was a kid.
Severe.
Like, real
Dangerous.
bad. Like, I woke up outside my driveway and everything.
Like backflips off the bunk beds.
Yeah,
correct?
like it's bad. And I actually woke up that night. I think I remember looking at my phone. It was like 2:30 in the morning. So we've been asleep a while. And woke up and I was sitting in Justin's chair, drinking out of my Nalgene bottle. And I was just,
In the
just
pitch
sitting
dark.
there, pitch black dark. Didn't have a headlamp on. Don't know how because it was dark up there.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Wandered off. I thought you were going to tie a string to it. You didn't do that?
No.
That's what I thought.
I mean, it's funny now we can laugh at it, but in all seriousness,
That coulda got
like
bad.
that could be really, really bad.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Like, I mean, you talk about blowdown. You fall the wrong way, those snags.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that catch you in the wrong
yeah.
spot, or
And
I mean,
dude,
steep.
What's crazy is that's the only time I done it that whole week.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
I
but
think it was
somebody-
I think it was just because the episode I had before I went to sleep.
yeah.
But I do remember somebody mentioning when we all, later on got in the same tent, somebody mentioned about a pistol. And then we're like, oh, here we go. Somebody mentioned it now, Aaron.
I
Now
know
we're going
it's
to have to
there.
hide it or
Yeah.
take it back to the truck because Aaron.
The first night was that the night he yelled at you too. He's like, Justin.
That's when I woke
said-
up, I guess.
Hey, I woke up about 2:30 in the morning. I guess when you woke up and you're
I guess so.
in my chair,
Yeah.
I heard somebody say, "Justin." So I said, "What?" Aaron said, "You good?" I said, "Yeah, what are you doing?"
Well, I'm not gonna lie. If I'd have known you were that sick, because when I got to camp, I was sicker than I was the same way. Except for I didn't walk up a mountain.
Yeah.
I just went and set up camp and went to sleep. I couldn't eat. I was sick. Like,
Yeah, we drove and met John, and basically we had a little campsite, like literally right off the road. So we didn't actually go in and start hunting that day. We just set up camp.
if I would have, I'd probably been.
close
Yeah.
to 10,000 something feet.
I don't know how
when I
you
was camped at.
keep I don't know what I did differently than everybody else to where it hit me. Like, I don't know if I didn't hydrate good, because that's what somebody told me, said you didn't hydrate good enough, like before.
I was miserably sick the first night, but like I said, if I would have did what you would have did, I probably would have had the same episode. I'd have puked because I was nauseous, lightheaded, like just.
It was fun though.
I had a bad headache, but that was about it.
I
Now,
was so
the first
sick.
year, I don't know that. I think you told me about it. Eating a Tums a day for like a month. Because isn't there something with like it balancing your pH out or whatever? Something like that may be a myth, but I did it.
Told me to eat a Rolaids every day. Eat one Rolaid every day for a month before you go. And something about the antacid in the Rolaid because like altitude sickness, and we're not professionals, so this is just gobbledygook. Pay no attention to this whatsoever. But a guy told me to eat a Rolade every day. That altitude sickness was like a acid level building up in your blood, and that if you ate an antacid every day, that it kind of counteracted it. So I've done that, and I've never really been altitude sick, but I also try to go out and try to take it easy for the first day.
Yeah.
I'm also
There's a lot of factors that go into play, from
Whatever it
hydration
is.
to everything else.
If I'd have known you were that sick, I mean, you'd have got a hotel room and we'd have laid up for a few
I don't
days.
know if I'd have been able to make it off that mountain that first night.
You guys that are listening can probably tell right now that we'll get into the luxury side of things here in a little bit, but
Ain't no
yeah.
luxury in
So
this
as far as the after you woke up the next day, you felt fine,
I felt fine. Yeah,
and you guys hunted for how long after that?
we hunted.
Day and a half. We hunted all day, camped.
Hunted all day,
Okay, so
again.
yeah,
And do we hunt the
And-
next morning or no?
No, we came down off the mountain.
Came off that
yeah,
mountain.
we came off the
So
mountain.
we hunted one full day there.
So the first day, we hit all of our spots as close as we could that we had marked, and some good feed, some good cover.
Found a wallow.
North facing slopes. We hit all those. Found a wallow. And I actually, something similar to what John was talking about. We were standing there kind of regrouping or kind of getting a game plan together, and I stepped over the hill to use the restroom, and I heard a bugle. And there's a distinct sound. You know, we hear guys talk about Doug Flutie, but there's a distinct sound between an elk and a person calling elk. And you can tell 100%. I mean, some guys are really good, but you can tell when there's an elk and when there's not. So heard a bugle. We started calling to it. Then we hear a bugle. We hear a bugle, but it sounds different than the one I heard before. So we're not sure. And the bugle was like it was going downhill of us. So we started, thermals were pushing down. So we started just basically running downhill. I guess people will see it on the video. But we started running downhill. And then I was like, that don't sound like the same bull. Like that sounds like somebody calling. So he's like, got down there, regrouped, pushed back up the hill. And then that's when we ran into hunters up there. And we ran into those hunters and the really nice guys. I can't remember where they're from, Florida or
Kansas, wasn't it?
Kansas. Yeah, they're from
Kansas?
Kansas. Yeah. Florida, Kansas, same thing.
Yeah.
It's all the same. We're all Flatlanders. But after talking to those guys, we got some intel that suggested that it was not probably a good place to be. There was 3 or 4 outfitter camps just over the mountain from us. From
In the middle of a meadow.
yeah, right in the middle of a meadow. So basically, what it is we were hearing that bull, but so were they.
Yeah.
So they must have pushed over that ridge. Who knows? I don't know what happened. So, yeah. So we decided to hunt the rest of that day. Hunted the wallow. I mean, we were in sign. And you know they say never to leave elk to find elk, but we found that the pressure was too great to stay in there, and it was perfect elk habitat. I mean, blow down. It was thick, nasty. That's where you want to be.
We was
You know,
camping right in it.
Yeah, I mean, we were basically deforesting just to pitch our tents, which are small tents.
Yeah.
So, I mean, great elk habitat. It was just too much pressure over on the other side of the mountain that we couldn't see. So it was just it wasn't the mountain, but it was more of a ridge system. But it was pretty nasty. So we decided to come off the mountain.
Yeah.
But good on them. Just like in some of our previous hunts, we literally we don't have anybody we can ask. We don't have anybody we can bounce ideas off of. We're just out here by ourselves. I mean, we're all we got.
Yeah.
So they picked them a spot, went in there, and got on a bugling bull.
Mm-hmm. First day.
Yeah, first day. So I mean,
Yeah.
You had a plan, you
coming all the
stuck
way
with
from
it.
Kentucky, and you drop a pin on a map, and you go to that pin on that map, and you hear a bull bugle. You know, I did that the first year I went out there. It gives you a little bit of confidence,
Sure.
and
For
I
sure.
mean, that's a tough deal because I know tons of people who go and never see an elk, hear an elk, nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And going back to like when we had that meeting at your workplace right there, I mean, like you see where it starts. I mean, like it's like, okay, where you want to start at? That's a lot of. I mean, even these
Yeah.
guys, it's like
Well,
It's a lot.
It's a big elephant
I mean,
to take a bite of, man.
it is. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, to just sit there and then eventually just say, okay, here's where we're going to start. I mean, y'all had pegs everywhere. I mean, like it was like a hot air balloon and stuff. So, I mean, like you said, yeah.
I know, like, you could always, there's a lot of what ifs, but, like, I really feel like that first day, if those guys wouldn't have came over that ridge on that elk, like just the way that the thermals were pushing, the way that elk was moving,
We had him.
we just happened to be right in the perfect spot to make a play on that elk.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
crazy to me. First 4 hours of hunting.
Yeah. And it's a very tough call to make too. Is whenever you're on an elk, you hear elk.
Yeah.
You got sign, but you know that there's so much pressure that your likelihood of getting on something.
Well, too, the where we was camping and where they were camping,
Yeah.
we was all like pinching right in the middle.
Yes. And there was private, just 2 miles.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. That was our first 2 days. 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Back over on our side of the mountain.
Yeah.
when you guys came off. Jeremy and them came over and met up with me, and I'd already found some elk. And lo and behold, man, that turned out to be that's the most bugling I've ever heard in my life. I mean, I've heard hundreds of bugles probably.
yeah,
I saw like the day before everybody got there. I was out hunting by myself. I saw one of the biggest bulls I've ever seen in the wild. You know, so
and was that on private or is that
it
on?
was right on the edge of the private.
Yeah.
Just saw him moving down through the timber. But there was elk like bugling on public. I mean, it was
Yeah.
turned out to be a decent spot to hunt for well, it wasn't necessarily OTC, but it was still.
Yeah, so when Brian and Dan and I got there, we set up camp, took it easy, got up the next morning. I remember Dan and Brian dropping us off, and literally 30 seconds after they pulled off, it was still dark. I mean, boom, bugle. And I was like, I mean, it's just what you dream about, you know? And then we got up there, we end up hearing 3 more bulls on public, and then a stinking dinosaur of an elk that was behind us on private, but just on private across the road. And kind of shameless plug here, but when the movie comes out of this whole adventure, it'll be on our YouTube channel. But there's clips of that. You're like mid talking, and as soon as you get done talking, that thing like screams in our ear. And man, that first morning, I was like, "This is what elk hunting's like. We are in the chips, you know." And we sit on that knob. Kind of our thermals was going down towards. We weren't close enough to the elk for it to matter, but if we would have moved any closer, they were going. We didn't want to blow those elk out, and so we sit there and just waited. We ended up seeing some mule deer. Right. And we tried to make a play on those elk and get over there to them where we thought they were bedding, but
that's the bunch of elk that I'd found the day before, and I was sitting on that little knob you was talking about. I glashed up a bunch of cows down in there, and heard a bull or two bugle over on the public. And it is a tricky place to hunt because if you're in there in the morning, the wind's diving down that little drainage there. If you go in there, you're toast.
Yep.
So I self-filmed myself in there the day before, and there was a bull came up through the timber on the opposite side over there. And these armchair quarterbacks, when they watch your videos, they're like, "Why are you sitting there? You hear a bull?" Well, they don't know everything that's going on, man.
Yeah.
Like the way the wind's blowing stuff, you can't just barge in sometimes. So that the day before y'all got there, when I got on that bull, I had to wait till like 9 o'clock in the morning, and when the sun hit in there, and when the sun hit that side of the hill, the wind started going up, and then I boogied across through there, and I got over there and set up on it the day before, and I did like a cold call sequence, and I heard sticks breaking, and I heard cow mewing, and I gave it like 30 minutes, 45 minutes or so, and never did see him, and I kind of eased on in there a little bit. When I got over right where I thought he would be, it was like shadowy. So, you know, if you hunt out there, as soon as you step in a shadow, I mean, the wind can shift. As soon as, like, if you step in a little cool spot on the side of a hill. So, it was kind of a tricky place to hunt.
yeah, I feel like we attacked that place pretty well, like progressively, because the first day we tried, like you said, we tried to play it safe.
Incrementally went in there.
The next morning, we got in there where way before daylight. We got in there where we first heard the elk. And so we were trying to, make the best of what we had with the time we had. So we got more aggressive as time went on. Of course, I don't know if they were just going on up above us or what, but we ended up seeing a mama bear with 2 cubs. We come out of a big thicket into this little small meadow, and there she was. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you see those 2 little brown balls floating around beside her, and I was like, I mean, if it would have been literally, we talked about if it would have been a grizzly, we would have definitely at least got like false charged or something. Like we were that close.
Well, she turned around and came at us.
Yeah.
And we clapped her hands or hollered at her or something. She took out.
And they ran off. But that was, that got my heart racing a little bit. But so we were in elk for a few days, and that was some really good hunting. And at the same time, we were in the same spot. But Brian and Dan, you guys want to talk about your all's experience out there? You guys hunted the same area but different spot.
Yeah, so we went to a couple pins that we had dropped on the map, just basically scouting, trying to get some feet on the ground. And several places that we went, we actually found a lot of sign, but it was old sign, and it almost looked like last year's sign. So we was at where a lot of the places we were looking was lower elevations. I think some of that was like 7,000 feet, maybe around there. So we just wouldn't find any fresh sign, and we ended up just driving around the whole day. Yeah. We spent I don't know how many miles we put on the truck, but some of the pins we had dropped was over where one of the first places that John Andrew went, and we started up through there, and we was like, oh my gosh, we knew there was going to be a lot of people, but
nobody would not believe how many people were in there if you didn't see it.
Like the chicken festival.
It was probably more than the chicken festival. It was like unbelievable.
There's 4-wheelers driving by, there's horses, there's dirt bikes.
They were 20 people lined up on the side of the road glassing these big meadows. And
that one big meadow, I said, stop, Brian, I see an elk. It was a big cow.
He's a cow.
Not like cow elk, but like a moo cow.
He's all over a glassing.
And everybody there thought it was an elk. They was looking at it.
There's everyone glassing cattle over. Yeah. But anyway, we drive on up, and gosh, we drove up there probably 4 or 5 miles. And we'd passed all the campsites, and we're like, okay, we're past it now. And then we get up to a big spot where we really wanted to get out and really do some walking. And, oh, boy, was we wrong. We got even worse.
Got worse.
There's probably 25 vehicles parked there. And we're like, well, let's go somewhere else. Yeah. So we literally spent all day scouting, driving around, and that's pretty much what we did for the first little bit.
Yeah, and then that evening, the last spot we went to, we were on our way out because it was getting dark. And I said, I'd never used a bugle tube in my life. I just said, give me that thing, bro. First time I ever used a bugle tube. I blew in it. It made the awful sound it was. And what did we hear, Brian?
We heard a big bugle.
A big bugle, son.
Big bugle.
Yeah, so it was, we went in that evening because we wanted to really get some boots on the ground and kind of got up at elevation and really started seeing a little more sign. But gosh, what we were trying to hike through was like waist high, or it was like chest high, cabbage patch. It was like nasty, gnarly stuff, and you couldn't even hike in it. It was so bad. So we go up. We actually get on a trail, a pretty worn trail. We're trying to figure out if it's humans or if it's horse or if it's elk. We really didn't know, but seeing a lot of fresh sign, and just like Dan said, we come back and we're hiking back a different route to the truck, and we go through a clear cut where they come in and cut it, and we get to the bottom when Dan blows a bugle, and literally this bull opens up. And we're just like looking at each other like, is that what we thought it was?
Yeah, it was crazy.
And this was on public too. And you always look back on it and say, man, I wish I could have done this different. But you're there. That's your like first couple of days there. So you want to make sure you're not like blowing it out. But literally, if me and Dan would have stayed at the top and just hiked out in the dark, we would have been probably within at least 100 yards of that bull.
Yeah, because he was like, if you're facing up the mountain, he was in this big valley to the left, and he ended up coming and getting on the same I don't know. Are they called points? I mean, we call points here. There's
So he actually came towards you guys.
Yeah, he come in and got
He
on
was
the
going left to
same
right.
like same point we were on, just way up above us. And I'm like, Brian, we were just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were literally just there. And if I could do over, I mean, it was my first time in Colorado. I mean, and I honestly, we were coming out a different way. We went in. We didn't know anything about it. We didn't want to walk out in the dark, but it was such an easy trail to get out of there. Like if I could do over, I would have took back up that mountain 100 miles an hour running.
Yeah, and
Because that trail, so we could have walked out in the dark. It would have been nothing, but we didn't know at the time.
and I guess it would have been a little bit different. We knew, confirmed that it definitely was not a hunter. And man, he got fired up. Like he was like
chuckling.
He was cutting us off, and he was doing the lip ball. I mean, it was like some nasty stuff. And it got our blood pumping. I was like, man, this guy's like going to come in.
We set, because we set up on him.
Yeah,
because he come around that hill. I said, he gonna come down this hill on us.
We actually thought that he was closing the distance, and then he ended up. I guess it was he had probably cows with him, and he didn't want to come all the way to the bottom. So
it's surprising to me at how vocal the elk actually were with the amount of pressure that we saw.
Oh yeah,
because all of us, we all heard elk.
Oh yeah,
quite a few elk.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's and it's like you're standing in a Jurassic Park movie when you hear one of those things for the first time. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, and it was pretty surreal. We definitely could have did stuff a little bit different, but looking back on it now, we probably made the move that we probably would make if we went back.
Yeah.
To not try to bust that elk out of there, but of course, we'll get into it. But he was going right for the big land that we couldn't touch, the big private property. But that's kind of our first day.
That private, it had to have been God's country.
It's like the Yellowstone.
Yeah, it's like the Yellowstone. Yeah.
There was elk just like
all around it.
Like
yeah,
just around it, because turns out where Brian and Dan are describing it there was probably 2 miles across a big basin from where I was originally getting into those.
Mm-hmm.
But we went back the next morning to that same spot, but we heard another bugle, but it wasn't an elk, it was a hunter. I mean, it was just hunters all to our right that come in, and
it's that's one thing going to Colorado, you're going to experience a lot of hunters, but
yeah.
This place
and that's just
different.
part of it. You kind of got to plan for that, and being able to adapt, and I think so. After this, so this is we're talking about what we've just described as the first 3 days, I think. So we hunted for 2 days there. We stayed 2 nights at that spot. So did you guys, and then after that, things got much different than the previous year, and Brian and Dan found a camp. And essentially, long story short, we all with the places where we're in, the pressure that we were experiencing, John Andrew and I, after hunting that place for a couple of days, we didn't hear I guess those elk moved out of there. We didn't have any more luck with them. We decided to all reconvene, and we got super fortunate because we got to all meet back up together. We thought we weren't going to see each other very much the whole trip, but we all got to come together, and we had this absolute magical base camp.
It's nice. Well, the only bad part is we did pick a spot where
it was just all dirt,
and there wasn't a shade tree to be found.
No,
and it's the opposite of 2 years ago because
it was 90 degrees.
It was so hot of the day in the sun.
Hot and dry.
It's weird out there because it'll literally be 80 degrees, like you said, and then you step into the shade, and there's like a 25-degree drop.
You kind of get chilly.
Yeah. It's like you're in shorts and no shirt and in the day, and then at nighttime you're having to put your down coat on to go to sleep. And so we met back up together at this base camp. We thought that we initially might hike in and spot camp, but as it worked out, the spots that we picked out and then we started hunting, we basically were able to come back to camp every single day, and we left super early of the mornings. We would get back on these ridge tops and back to our spots before daylight. We would hunt pretty much all day, come back, and then be together the evening. And to me, that was fun times, fun times.
I just think we've grown leaps and bounds, man. I mean, we're still all newbies at this, but to me, from the first year I went out there to this year, I felt like we got more at bats, more hunts. We're hunting more I guess you could say efficiently.
Yeah.
I mean, we were getting up at 4 a.m. and we didn't eat breakfast at camp or anything. I mean, we hit the hills. We'd eat mid-morning, when we got out somewhere. And just the way the land was laid and the way the elk turned out to be where they were, it just didn't make any. It's like spike camping didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to.
We were close enough to where we could, if we spiked, like, if you were to spike camp way back in there, you were basically with an elk, and you kind of you didn't want to blow them out of there, because talking and cooking your food and everything else. Because I mean, all the elk that we found were pretty much. You imagine like these big, beautiful meadows and like open country and these giant bulls running through there, but like where we found it, at least John Andrew and I, it was like the deep, dark timber where you can't see more than 25 yards, and it's nothing but blowdown. Like that's where we had action at, and so it worked out to where we could, like I said, hike, hunt, and come back to camp. And I remember it was the first day we were back there. We finally got service, and we were checking on Instagram, and we see a post by Daniel Gay, and it says, what's it say, Dan?
I don't know. You got it wrote down over where he said.
I do got it wrote down. I want to hear you say it, Dan.
I really, how'd I say it? I really forgot how it went.
The back
country is my home. It is my home.
The back country is my new home.
It is my new home. Yeah.
And
where was you at when you posted that, Dan?
Huh?
Where was you at when you posted
Me and Brian was sitting. Was that when we got run over by the bear? Is that
the picture is where we got run over by the bear.
So the picture is you in the back country.
Yeah.
But when you posted the picture, where were you?
Well, when it went through.
When it went through.
I don't know. Where was I?
I think
in the Walmart
You were
parking lot.
using a Walmart parking lot.
Was I really?
Yeah.
So
so
to clarify,
and all you boys steak.
Yeah. That ain't right, is it, Dan?
Bought you boys steak, brought it back to camp, made sure Jeremy's didn't have no fat in it.
Yeah, you did do that.
You did.
You got paid.
No. You're getting ahead of the game here. I'm going to brag on you, but we just had to share that story. So we get back to camp, we see this post, and we're like, Dan, he's in the backcountry hunting, and then we're talking. We're like, where are they at? And then someone tells us that, oh, Brian and Dad, they went out to Walmart to get an air mattress for the tent.
And full-size pillows.
and full-size pillows. It was just hilarious. Like, it's...
I'm an Instagram guy.
John Andrews.
It was good stuff.
Are you kidding me?
So we had to ride him pretty hard over that the rest of the trip, but it was good. No, so while you were there, we will talk about that. So we had Aaron Bray with us on this trip, who packed in his cooler steaks, deer meat.
Yeah.
We brought a grill. We had a Camp Chef grill with us, and then Dan bought more steaks. And yes, Dan, he remembered that I prefer a less fatty steak, so he got me a big New York strip.
Vegan.
I mean, it was a monster.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of, you can envision this. We're out hunting and we come back to camp and we're all around. We got the grill out. We're eating steaks literally 1.5 inches thick, I feel like. And eating deer meat. I mean, that was some fun camping. That was not roughing it. Like, it was fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say this: peak Alfredo with grilled deer tenderloin put in it.
How was the
my
deer
gosh.
tenderloin? Was it good, guys?
It was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
So good.
glad
You
y'all
cooked
liked
it just
Good
right.
job, buddy.
Yeah.
Aaron didn't
Thanks,
get any.
Oh, you didn't even get a piece of it?
No.
Oh my
You
goodness.
remember I came over there, I got done grilling it, and I put one plate down and came over and put the other plate down, and I got all my stuff and came back over. I was like, hey, guys, where's the deer meat?
I didn't know that.
About
Like,
that.
it's in our peak meals.
Sorry, buddy.
It's all right. I
But it works out. It's great when it works out that way, that the elk are in places like that,
Yeah.
to where you can base camp and have a good time like that. It doesn't. It's great when it works out like that because it doesn't have to be torture, you know, or super rough or.
Well, you just gotta adapt, don't you? I mean,
Yeah.
you just gotta do.
I feel like the
Yeah.
road
Well, there's no-
system's there.
They're going to be where they are.
Yeah, so if you spot camp in 15 miles deep, but the elk aren't there, then you're spot camping for no reason.
Right.
Right.
They
So
were people. A lot of the elk we were on, they were people driving right by them.
yeah.
Yeah.
You could hear vehicles going by down on a gravel road.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you'd have hiked in 15 miles where we were, you would have hit another road.
You would have
Oh yeah.
You'd hit 3 roads.
and you also
Three.
saw more people than you saw elk. I'm
Mm-hmm.
judging by who was parked at the trailheads and stuff. Because we weren't at a trailhead. We were just.
Yeah.
we
Well,
were
see,
just
that
beside
was
the road.
why, like, a lot of those, the other places that we were at were so crowded was because they all those roads had a trailhead on them.
Yeah.
And then the place where we set up base camp did not have a trailhead.
No, it was just.
It's still busy, but it wasn't as busy.
I
as
feel
those
like
roads.
though, maybe I'm wrong, but everybody I talked to was either bear hunters or mule deer hunters. I don't feel like there was many elk hunters.
Yeah, that's a good point we can talk
That is a
about
good
but
point.
for just a second. So the pressure that we experienced was not just elk hunters. Right. So we were the place where we were, there were elk hunters, but there was also bear hunters. They have muzzleloaders. And then they were mule deer archery hunters.
Yeah,
And
some of the
muzzleloader
youth, and there
elk.
was youth
And then
mule deer that had
muzzleloader elk
rifles.
as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was like this overlap of all these different seasons, and John and I, we passed like every morning going in. We passed. We talked. Did we talk to them that one morning? Maybe we didn't talk to them, but they were in orange. They were bear hunters,
Yeah. Somebody had talked to them. They were bear hunters. Yeah.
and so we crossed. So we saw their headlamps going in every morning. We went in, and so yeah, there was. And then we had
They're.
on one hunt we had the guys that came up. We were on a bull. Super close encounters, like sticks breaking, like you're just waiting for him to step out. And, you know, as it turns out, he never did, but the hunters came above us and they were bugling, trying to get a response. They had hurt us and him because we'd done some pretty crazy calling sequences, but it got him fired up.
Yeah. Is that when I lost track of days, man, because I was out there for a while. It's all kind of one big convoluted elk hunt thing during my mind. I can't hardly separate what day was what. But when did we get on that? We were calling to a bull, and some of the bulls we were getting on, it wasn't the big classic bugle. They were just like,
Yeah.
oh.
It was like a short. I mean, you hear these like going back to like hearing the call. When you hear someone call, it's almost like too perfect of a bugle when someone does it. And when the elk do it, it's much more nasty sound. Like they're
bugles
shorter,
and-
they're broken up. Sometimes they do like half a chuckle. Sometimes it'll be 2 chuckles. Sometimes it'll be like just a growl. And so, yeah, those they weren't doing these big, beautiful bugles.
Yeah, we got on one morning though down there, and
Yeah.
it was like we were calling back and forth with him,
And you started matching him basically.
yeah, and he started coming up the hill.
Yeah, there was 2 bulls that the way I remember it, the first time I went up there we done the calling sequence and that bull came in, we heard him sticks breaking, and I don't know whatever happened to him, but we basically hiked on out and come back around and went back to camp. And the next day we went down further and there was 2 bulls. There was a bull to our left. Yeah. Imagine you basically going down a mule's face,
Oh, that hill!
hill with nothing but, it's nasty. So there was a bull way down below us that was coming up close, and there was a bull over to our left too. And both those things got closer, but it's just, I don't know, I guess where it's public and where there is pressure, they come so far and they just expect you, if you're real, like you're going to come the rest of the way. And we just never could close the
turns
distance.
into oak brush down there, and it's
On that oak
at
brush
least
is no
45
joke.
degree angle. That hill, maybe I guess it's steeper than that. It's what we call in Kentucky a cow's face.
And fast forwarding, is that the same place you guys heard the bulls fighting?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was a killer spot. There was some elk in there.
It was extremely hard to hunt. That's what I was saying, trying to get to there. The oak brush and how steep it was. You could hear. We heard a bull bugle one time, probably 75 yards from us, and you couldn't cover 75 yards. You couldn't get to him.
And getting your
Without blowing
thermals
him
and the
out.
wind right
Yeah,
too,
I mean,
going
you
down that
sound like a
mountain.
bulldozer. You could not.
Yeah.
And a bull could be that close to you, and there's no way you could see him. I mean, it was a jungle in there. That was interesting.
Yeah, that one.
We had some encounters.
I remember the one hunt. You got your bow ready to drop. Like he was that close.
Yeah, I had pressure on the string.
It
I
was.
thought he was gonna step out. Didn't you
Yeah,
see?
I just knew he was too. Like there was this. I mean, it was super thick, but there was one little opening. He kept getting closer and closer,
He
closer.
came up close once and let out a big, and then you could hear like sticks
Yeah.
cracking and popping. I was like, this is gonna happen.
Yeah. So we're getting closer. Spoiler alert: we did not come home with an elk this year, but we're getting closer, guys. We're getting closer. Yeah, and we're gonna stop listening at this point. We're gonna go find a podcast where they actually kill things. I don't know.
Go listen to Corey Jacobson.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, but
We live in the real world.
yeah. I mean, I think it's a cool perspective because a lot of times you hear from people and hunters who they're sharing experiences after success, and like we're in like the middle of the it's all how you not to be cliche, but success is much more than the kill. I think it's definitely going to happen for us. We're getting closer and closer.
Every year we
but-
learn a lot
Yeah.
more. A lot more.
so we're growing. So that was kind of we were in some elk, had close encounters. What about the rest of you guys? Any hunts you guys?
We started changing up groups a little bit. I feel like some people were finding some spots that they liked and started checking out some different spots.
Yeah, I went with you one evening. We went to
yeah,
we
we
saw the
started-
mule deer bucks.
Yep.
That that time.
So in the evenings we would do a lot of glassing and a lot of scouting, things like that. And then me and Brian, I think Brian found a saddle on Onyx that we wanted to check out. And so there was a spine that ran down this ridge, and I had a spot marked on one side, and Brian had a saddle marked on the other side. So we was like, well, let's just both park here. Let's go together, and we'll just run that spine and see what we hear the next morning. So we were set up before daylight, and we had a bear come in to 10 yards.
Yeah, me like completely oblivious
Huge
to
head.
the fact that it
Right
was, like,
behind
within
Brian.
10 yards.
Yeah.
think
So
you run
then we
a lot
ease off. We decide for whatever reason, we decided to go to the saddle and just do like a cold call setup or something.
Yeah.
So it was like 7:30 in the morning. It was still really early, so
Yeah,
we went down there.
We
and-
basically just still hunted.
yeah, we
all the way
basically
there.
still hunted all the way there. Got to the saddle where we wanted to set up, and we blew out a cow. And
She was
So-
about 80 yards. Probably.
yeah, 80 yards, something like that. And we were like, shoot.
See
So-
or smell you.
She's
seen us. Yeah, we were. Yeah, I'd say she heard us coming, so she was already looking. So when
Right.
we crested to the saddle, she seen us, blew out. So we set up right where she was at. Did a couple cold call sequences, snapping limbs, things like that, and then we heard a squirrel, kind of squawking, kind of like when you're whitetail hunting and you hear a squirrel squawking, there's something probably coming. So we set up, and you want to tell it? You want me to tell it?
Yeah, so
Let
I'm just
Brian
like,
tell
I'm
it.
just looking at the top of the hill towards where the squirrel is squawking, and I seen movement, and I'm like, something's up there. Like, what is it? So I threw up my binoculars, and I see an elk, and it wasn't a cow because the cow went the other way, and I seen it. It was feeding, and when I seen it stick its head down, I seen horns, and I immediately thought, "Oh boy,
I looked at a heart monitor.
this is it."
And the
And,
word
it was like no joke. It was literally when I seen the horns, my heart just started thumping out my chest.
Oh, and then the first word he says to me, he turns around and looks at me and says, "Raghorn."
yeah.
So my heart starts exploding.
yeah, I thought it was a raghorn because I knew it wasn't a giant bull because of course I could see some of the horn. And just watching it, like we just sat there and watched it for probably it felt like an eternity, but it's probably literally like 5 minutes, and it fed down towards us, and it got real open. Like he come out of the timber, and it opened up, and it was just a beautiful spot, wide open.
45 yards broadside.
It was 60
Was
is
it
what
60?
where he was at. Like I ranged a couple different spots, and he was broadside 60 yards, clear open shot, and it was a spike.
Oh,
And it was a spike.
How far was it?
60 yards.
I was
letting it eat.
Yeah.
It was going to eat.
man.
But man, out of all the elk that could pop out at 60 yards broadside, perfect. Justin filming, it was a spike.
Yeah.
And then it just moseyed on around.
But it was fun.
It was fun. It
I
was a
think
good
that's
encounter.
Hey, that's a big win, man.
it really is.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
To actually get to like get ready to I knocked an arrow and put my release on my D loop to get ready to draw back on an elk. That was a good feeling.
For sure.
I think it was that same day because your knee was hurt, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Aaron's knee was hurt. So me, Aaron, and Jesse went to where John and Jeremy was.
That was that morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Originally hunting, and we heard all those elk again over there on that private, over there on Circle Bottom Ranch.
Yeah.
Circle Bottom Ranch. Yeah, if you Google that, it's not going to. Well, if it does find a place, I can assure you that's not where we were.
Over on Circle Bottom.
how long you've
How long have you been feshing
It
that
just
one
hit
up?
me, I promise.
No.
You've been thinking about that for the last
He's
30
thought
minutes.
about that one since we left.
I cannot wait till we get to this segment.
Yeah.
But then I guess, you know, they were over there on that private again, so actually Aaron went and dropped me and you off
And
in the
jump
middle
the
of nowhere.
fence on private.
No,
I'm kidding. That's a
When did I
joke.
drop you all off?
that after we left Circle Bottom, you
Circle Bottom.
Somebody's going to figure
Look,
it out.
look for T-shirts coming soon. Circle Bottom
Well,
I don't
Ranch.
remember dropping you all off anywhere, but
you did. You dropped us off
You don't
top of that
remember?
mountain, and we hiked back to camp.
We came back out.
oh yeah,
So there, John
on the other
John
side.
said, Dan's hiking
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to camp. We'll never see him again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Blood down
that.
my heart, too.
Yeah, well, that's the only elk that I actually saw with my eyes that trip. Was we got in this really cool valley, and I don't know what it was. You get in these little cool valley. We actually found the most fresh elk sign I've seen the whole trip there. In this random spot I found on Onyx, but we saw 2 cow elk. They saw us first, or do you think they smelled us? They probably saw us, didn't they?
You and
Either way,
Jesse,
they
definitely
didn't
seen
stick
y'all.
around long.
No, it's like, hey, elk. I said, my elk. You know,
Yeah.
they were gone. But anyways, so we made it. We actually found a big wallow there.
Nice
What's
wallow.
funny is you could go on Onyx and see that wallow.
Can you?
Yeah,
I can't remember
showed
that.
you guys on Onyx. Yeah, but we found that nice wallow with a lot of fresh sign there.
On the GPS coordinates in the link below.
Yeah, I'll send you the coordinates.
Look in the show notes for the coordinates there.
Yeah, so we made it. We made it back out to camp. That might have been my last hunt. I don't know.
Yeah, let's talk about
That's,
that.
that's a perfect transition, Dan.
Yeah.
So, this is where things get interesting.
Yeah, this is when we start getting dramatic.
Is this like day 4 or day 5?
I think it was day
It's one of
5.
them middle
I don't.
days.
Yeah, it's funny.
Day 5 for us, day 9 for John.
So before we get to this upcoming story, one of the things I remember talking about out there was how we all come to the conclusion of, you know, this is how life is meant to be lived in terms of the pace. Because when you're out there, you're not on your phones, you don't have service, you're totally disconnected from your normal life. And literally time, it's so slow. Days feel like forever, and you lose track of days. And it's just like, I was thinking earlier today that, you know, since my kids have been born, for Everett's 6, it just feels like it's a blur. Like every year, like going through their motions and working and everything else, like things go so fast. And out there, for a brief moment in time, it's like, man, this is how it should be. You know, and so we had that conversation too of, you know, and that's why when we talk about these things, was it day 2 or is it day 3 or 4? Like, I mean, it's hard to remember all that, but it's yeah, it's pretty cool how time does that, and you really get to soak things in and be present. But so yeah, Dan, do you want to tell a story?
It might be better if somebody else does, because I'm kind of like, I don't really remember
So,
much.
so
I
to
wasn't
start to
there.
begin it, like me, Justin, and Jesse went up to hunt the wallow that Jesse and Dan found.
Yeah, me, John, and Jeremy and Dan was at the
Yes.
camp.
Was at camp, so we hiked up. What Dan told us is going to be an hour and a half, 2 hours to get up there. We was up there in 35 minutes.
It's tough.
But that's only because Justin Bray was in the lead.
Yeah. yeah.
Which
Well, I guess what happened was I talked to my wife earlier, and she told me she was sick. She had a stomach virus. She was real sick to her stomach. She was puking, and I was like, well, she got stomach virus or something, you know. So about an hour later, I get another call from my little cousin lives with us, Elijah. I get a call from him, and he's kind of like in a panic. Says that he found her passed out on the floor, and she was awake now and talking normal, but she has no memory of kind of anything. She doesn't really remember. She doesn't know her job. She didn't know I was in Colorado. She couldn't figure out why I was in Colorado. So it got really scary for a moment. I guess I started panic. I felt pretty useless at the moment. Really don't like. It's really kind of hard to talk about, really. But
it was honestly a really scary little bit there for a second.
You know, I told her, I said, I asked you, and then like every 10 seconds she would ask me again, where are you at? And I'd have to say, I'm in Colorado. Why are you in Colorado? And like she was talking normal is the scary part. Like, so it's like, what happened? Did she have a stroke? You know, that's all the worst case scenarios are going through my mind. Like, here I am. How many miles is it out there?
A lot.
1,400.
Here I am, 1,400. I'm literally across the United States from home. I don't even have a vehicle. Even if I did have a vehicle over there, I couldn't have drove back. There's no way. I was a wreck. So it was, it went on, and she really wasn't getting any better. So kind of called around and decided I had to get home somehow. So
yeah, so you told it very calmly. It was absolute. So we're sitting there. Dan, as soon as he gets on the phone, we know immediately something's wrong, and he comes around the tent, and is basically full blown panic mode. Which, and we all would be if we were in that situation. I mean, because you think about it, you feel helpless. Mm-hmm. Your family's at home, and something like this happens. Like Dan's saying, your mind kind of goes worst case scenario, and so Dan is immediately trying to get his things together, trying to figure out a way home. And I remember we can giggle about it now, but I remember you coming around and be like, "We got to get home," and John's just like, "Here's the keys to my truck." And then you're just like, oh, I can't drive. And I was like, well, let's book a plane. And it was like, I can't fly. And I was like, what are we gonna do? We gotta do something. And so it was crazy for a little bit. And then Aaron got on his phone and ended up booking Dan a flight and myself a flight, because Dan had never flown before, and you were tore up anyway. And we all, if it would have been me, it'd been really nice to have somebody with me, just to kind of, be beside me through that process, especially in how scary it was at first. So, and I didn't have a tag. So, I didn't have all this money wrapped up in a tag. I was just, running a camera. So you and I, we booked a flight going straight home. Now, long story short, we found out a little bit later on that, of course, it's still kind of a question, but basically she took vinegar and took some medicine, and we think she basically passed out.
And really, she went to the doctor and stuff afterwards. Even the hospital, they don't know exactly why she struck such severe amnesia. But she went 12 hours or more with amnesia and couldn't remember anything, and it was to this day, we really don't know what exactly happened. If she fell and hit her head and got a concussion, or because we couldn't find a knot on her head. where she hit or anything, but we come to find out, one of her, she's a nurse, and one of her friends had texted me and said, hey, I know this is going on. I don't think she knew, but she was taking care of a patient who ended up having viral meningitis. So we think that's a possibility now. Like, she might have literally had an episode. And, I guess viral meningitis, I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I guess, like,
It's me.
If that's just
So tell that story, Justin, real quick. Interject that one.
Well, we come running off the mountain because we get a text that this is going on. I haven't been on the premises, and I'm not a doctor. If you guys are watching, listening, I'm not a physician. So
he didn't say you was a doctor. You're a doctor guy.
You're a doctor guy.
Well, I hadn't been on at base camp for 2 minutes. We was all trying to talk to Dan. It's going to be okay. And Dan looks at me and says, "Justin, you're the doctor guy. Is she going to be all right?" That's a lot to answer in the moment like that.
Doctor guy.
And we're trying our best to ease.
Yeah, and it's a difficult situation. It's bad. And
I can honestly say it was the worst feeling in my entire life. I've never felt more helpless.
And we felt helpless towards you because we didn't know, like when you asked me personally, I didn't know what was going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we don't know what to say. You don't want to say, you want to say, it's going to be okay, but then, and you definitely don't want to say, nothing's going to be okay. So you don't know what to say to somebody in that situation. So at the same time, we felt
something you don't really prepare for.
Right. You don't plan to get called home in 5 days.
That feeling has made me question whether or not I would go back, honestly, just because it's like, I don't know. I've never felt like that before, and it was terrible. Like the whole, it was the next morning. She still couldn't remember the stuff, and it was like so scary. Like, I don't know.
Well, I feel like you need to go back.
Yeah,
I feel like you need to go back.
As soon as it happened, go back to Colorado. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because the thing is, things like that you can't plan for it, and you never want them to happen, but life does happen.
Yeah,
and whether you're here, I think these trips are so important, in so many different areas of life. I think just as me personally, and for all of us guys, I think we grow so much from them that I think it's important to set aside time for it. And you make preparations, you make plans, you try to, like for example, like all of our wives are in group chats and like meeting up together regularly while we're all gone. So they're all there for each other. And, you try to get your support systems in line so you can, if something does go wrong, you have something in place. But yeah, it's a tough thing for sure.
And it's totally different too. So I know, like, if Jessica, my wife, if she had something going on actively, I wouldn't want to go. I would never go. You know what I'm saying? That's something that you don't plan for. Like something that happened to Ashley, and but now it would be totally different. If she had something recurring, active episodes going on, and then you left anyway. You know what I'm saying? So don't blame yourself for that at all. You can't help nothing like that.
Yeah.
No, I've never witnessed anything like that before. So,
So Dan and I,
you never will again.
yeah.
I'm
I
deeply.
think it's just a bad thing to kind of the way the shape this country's in right now. Everybody's just living in some kind of fear bubble or something.
Yeah, that's true.
Just gotta kind of
fear really does have such a grip on people. Since COVID and everything else, that it's. You gotta be safe. Obviously, you gotta make smart decisions, but at the same time, you can't let it control your life, and you gotta push past that and fight it for sure. So Dan and I got a plan. Was you gonna say something, John?
No, I just think we handled it right, man. He had to get home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just took a few minutes of chaos to get the cooler heads to prevail. Thank God.
I wish I'd have went up to that wall.
Yeah.
He literally booked a flight with one bar of service. He's probably holding on to like a metal antenna on a car or something to get service where we were.
Yeah.
But thank God it worked out. Dan got home. Next day he was home.
Yeah.
Ashley's all right.
And it's another thing too. I talked about earlier. Find a good group of friends to travel with.
Mm-hmm.
that's a good group of friends to travel with. You know, somebody to travel home with you, stuff like that.
And
Yeah.
take you to Mexico, or New Mexico.
Yeah, so we
They take you to New Mexico in the middle of the night.
Well, I will say I never in my wildest dreams would have ever thought we'd been driving through Santa Fe, New Mexico with Jesse.
My only complaint
Aaron?
was I wish it was in daylight so we could have seen it, Jesse.
I know it, buddy.
Jeremy?
Jesse, you want to talk about our experiences as soon as we crossed the New Mexico border? What we started
We're in
seeing?
the wrong state, huh?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
We're in the wrong state. We crossed over. We ain't seen nothing. I don't know how many miles. It wasn't long before we crossed the border, was it?
Oh,
I feel like
right
it was
after.
like a mile
Like
after we
in
crossed
view
the
of the
border.
sign.
As soon
Yeah.
as we cross, it's like, oh, Booner. Oh, Booner mule deer.
Yeah.
Oh, 6 bulls. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we literally saw
There was
two.
a sign that had like an elk and a crossing on the
Yeah,
road.
watch out for elk crossing.
And we're just like, "Pfft, whatever. And then like the next 15 minutes, it's like, oh, there's an elk. Oh, there's an elk. Oh, there's an elk. Oh, big mule deer. Elk. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
that one mule deer was just,
Giant bulls, giant mule deer,
gosh.
cows everywhere.
But we did also pull up Onyx, and guess what? It's all private.
Yeah.
Old circle bottle.
So Aaron and Jesse drove all night.
3.5 hours
Yes.
to take us to the airport.
Yep, and then back.
Yeah, that last
So-
few hours on the way back was
Man.
eventful.
Yeah, you
And then
guys
they
talk
didn't even
about,
hunt
talk
when they
about
got
that. So you guys, we drove down. We got to the airport. Dan and I, we ended up flying out and getting back home. So that leaves the rest of the crew. Jesse and Aaron have to drive back and tell the story about that. I mean, that's a rough trip home,
man.
right?
It wasn't that bad until we got like within an hour to camp, or hour and a half, because it was about a 4-hour drive.
That's when we crossed the line. Didn't see no more animals either.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think we would
saw
have seen
animals
them
on
if
the
we
way
was
back.
awake.
Remember, we stopped and turned sideways on the road just to spot elk.
Yeah, yeah, we
Sorry
was
if that's
driving in the
illegal,
ditches
but
and
we were.
everything. We was
You were using your truck lights, not
Oh
actual.
yeah, not like
yeah,
truck lights.
yeah,
Yes, oh yeah.
yeah. We but we was switching out. That last hour, I honestly think we was switching out like every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'd be in the driver's seat and I'd start nodding off. Jesse would be like, "Aaron, you good?" I'd say no. He's like, "Let me drive." He'd get over there about 15 minutes later. I'd be like, "Jesse, you good?" He'd be like, "No, I'm not."
I think we were scared of both of each other driving. Like we.
Yeah, like I
we
don't know
were.
what we was doing,
I ain't
and we
gonna
was
lie, I
trying to
was
watch for animals because
Yeah.
they was everywhere. So it was just, man, it's something else. That was some good sleep though
I
when
don't
we
think
got
we
back.
got back to like
They was already gone when we got
they
back.
were gone when we got back, didn't it?
Yeah.
So
So the hunt continued. We flew home and got us some Chick-fil-A. And,
Pasture Clay met us in Knoxville.
yeah, and got back home. Ashley, like John was saying, ended up being fine. Everything worked out. But
By the time we got home, she had a lot of her memory back. She was still kind of woozy. She's kind of out of her head. I guess it's like a little bit delusional.
yeah,
I guess. But she remembered I was in Colorado. She remembered her job. She remembered we went to church. She remembered her friends.
yeah, everything started coming back.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
So for you guys, the hunt continued, and you still got in some action. You guys want to share some stuff from that?
I'll let John tell it.
I don't know what day it was.
I don't either.
That was
The
that was
day- the next day
The very
is-
next morning, I went with you all.
Yeah,
Justin
me, Brian, and John
Is
went.
that when we got in a big bugle?
Yeah,
yeah,
so
but
that's
it was just you. Three.
Yeah, we
That's when
brought
went
it-
in and slept
That was
in.
yeah.
when
They
we-
stayed and slept in, so we get up there. That's where I get up there and fall asleep in that that morning.
So they were bugling everywhere.
Yeah, like we're up there on top, and I'll let you take it from there because that's kind of
Well,
your
we pulled
area
a
where
bull
you
from
hunted at.
barely being able to hear it. You were mimicking, and we brought him all the way to the edge of private, and then some muzzleloader hunters cut us off. They
That's when
dropped
came
down right in
barreling
front
off
of
the
us
hill.
after we had worked that bull for an hour or something.
I think he was on public by the time he came up the hill where we could hear him good.
Hmm
Those
We were
guys-
waiting for the thermals, right?
Yeah, and those guys just ran, got in between us and him, and then he never bugled again after that.
No.
So they just screwed that up.
Literally was sitting there listening to this bull bugle his brains out. John calls him in off of the private like he come from a long way, and we hear the hunters up behind us,
Mm-hmm.
and we're like, surely they know we're sitting
Well, they did
right
that on
here.
purpose. I mean, it's
Mhm.
public land. They
And-
can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, but
They
I
just
guess
came right in there.
I
Okay,
guess
so-
the right thing would have been not to do
Sure.
what they did. But I don't know if they knew we was there or not. But I feel like it was pretty obvious that we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing we know, they're barreling off the hill like full force, breaking limbs. We actually thought it was an elk, and I told you, I was like, I'm pretty sure I seen somebody, and I'm like, well, and I thought I was going crazy because I was like, no way, like it wasn't somebody. And sure enough, it was somebody barreling off the hill going after the elk that we had caught in for them.
So needless to say, they blew him up. So then the next day, me and Justin got up, I don't even know, super early, and we took off in a death hike. Because this place, it's a couple miles to get in there, hard as you can walk.
Yep.
And then you drop off a cow's face down into this big old hole. So me and Justin went down there the next morning, bailed in, got on two bulls fighting, heard a couple bugles, and then it kind of got dead, and
Yeah.
we never did hear anything else the rest of the day.
It was really hot, so it seemed like you had about an hour, somewhere in there, hour, 2 hours, where you had like some bugling, and then at the very end of the day, I think it was like that a lot across the West. So if you follow people on Instagram, that would seem to be pretty consistent.
Yeah, that's what I've seen too. After about 9 o'clock in the morning, I don't think we heard a bugle after 9. Probably.
It's just so hot
Yeah.
and dry.
Was
It
that the
a killer
same?
experience, man? I mean, it was awesome. We
We got on elk that next evening. All of us that was still there.
Yeah, that's another good story. There, we went we bombed into a whole different spot, all of us together,
Yeah.
and got down. We kind of waited on the thermals to get everything calmed down that evening. Called, and
Tore that bush up.
yeah, and I chuckled or something, and a bull answered us. And then there were some people on the ridge above us heard the bull answer us, and probably emptied a 30-round magazine into the valley where the bull bugled from, just to be.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
he was, when we heard him, how far do you think he was from us?
Not far.
He was-
he was
we could
close.
have definitely.
He was
100%
within
made a play
150.
on him, and they were.
Yeah.
They must have been sitting up there on this
Listening
opposite
to us.
ridge.
He was close enough. We were setting up.
Because
I actually knocked an arrow
Yeah, he was that close. So we had two shooters set up down in front of us, and he.
because he chuckled. That's all he did.
Pressure is
And
the
then
theme of
bam,
the.
bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
Which was, I wish whoever did
About
that
as low
could
as
hear
you
this.
can get.
I think that's about as crappy of a public land move as you can possibly do.
Yeah.
To somebody. I'll just say it nicely.
Yeah.
I would never in a million years do somebody that way. Never.
Yeah. I mean, public land is public land. And of course, you're going to at times run into people not realizing whatever. You may mess somebody up on accident. But to hear that and intentionally stoop so low to empty a gun out just to mess somebody's hunt up, like, I don't know, man. That's pretty.
Yeah. Well, then the podcast is going kind of long, so we may lose people. So I'll try to wrap it up a little bit. On that same note, me and Justin ran into a couple guys from Tennessee, and they said we're packing up to go home, man. And he said we hunt this unit all the time, and they were nice as they could be. We talked to him for a while, and he said, "I'll tell you guys what." He said, "I saw a bull, a nice 6-point." And he said, "Down here, come off the public," and told us what patch of timber it came out of, pushed 22 cows, and they went over to feed on this private place. Kind of gave us some good intel, man. And me and Justin was like, well, we'll just go there and hunt this evening. He told us exactly where to go. We got down there that evening, walked down the trail, looked over there, and there sat a muzzleloader hunter.
Yeah.
Yep.
Justin and I nodded to the guy, waved at him, was like, we didn't say anything. We just like made a hand gesture. Sorry for coming in on you. And we backed out of there.
Yep.
And we just went around upon that. It was already kind of late in the evening by that time. So we just went up to a big vantage point. We sat and just kind of watched this basin. And you could see public and private from where we were sitting at. And we saw 3 bulls, bunch of cows, heard a bunch of bugling. I mean, so we got to sit and watch that for that evening.
Yeah.
And that was the evening before we were coming home.
Yeah.
So I felt like we handled that situation pretty good. We walked in on a guy and we
Yeah.
didn't
That's the best thing you can do. You know.
We just backed out and left him alone. He beat us to the spot.
Yep.
The guy from Tennessee must have told him about the same spot. 'Cause we were,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what day it was, but I finally got to, I got with you and Justin, you two, and I was like, oh man, they've been talking about these bulls and stuff. So I'm like, I'm going there. So we went to that one spot. I mean, over there on the side of that private. I'm like, they've been hearing bulls.
That was
We're gonna
Bear
get in these
Village.
bulls.
Yeah,
We
I've been
hit bear
dreaming about going
country
in that place
wide
to go
open.
trail.
Yeah,
I mean,
you guys walked up on a big bear, right?
I mean, there was bear scat literally every 15 feet on this trail. Every 15 feet. That's not even an exaggeration. I don't think.
How the guys bear hunting did not kill a bear in there? I don't even know. I mean, I saw
Same
six-
thing for
I
the
saw
mule deer
6
hunters.
bears.
I saw one bear, 72 mule deer.
Yeah.
Aaron saw a real nice mule deer, I think, one morning.
Yeah, seen a great one.
We saw 2 mule deer bucks, Justin and I did.
I seen
saw a
2.
Muley too in there.
I'm sure all those guys are saying, man, I don't know how these guys are killing elk. There's elk everywhere in here.
It really was. So that was next to the last day. Justin and I were courteous to the guy that got beat us to the spot. So the next morning, they left a camera on that wallow they were talking about a while ago. So me and Justin went to retrieve it the next morning. We got up super early again, way before daylight, walked in the spot, was walking down to get the camera. We was like, well, we'll hunt our way to the camera, and then we'll hunt our way to camp. And we'd been there, I don't even know how many days at this point. We were walking dead men, basically. So we walk in this patch of timber, man. We like crest this little hill, and I'm like, kind of like the turkey hunter in me. Every time you look over in a new spot, you know you want to call into it. So we looked over in this little spot, and I got my bugle tube out, and I just put it behind me. And as soon as I did,
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
screamed right in our face. I was like, "Are you flipping kidding me?" I mean,
Yeah.
if we'd had heart monitors on, we'd have pegged them right there. 'Cause
Absolutely.
we almost died.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing was 50 yards, 75. I mean, it was in thick timber.
Yeah.
But I mean, he screamed in our face, and so this was the last morning. So me and Justin, we monkeyed with that thing back
Yep.
and forth, and
We kept trying to get on his level, kept trying to catch up to him, and he had cows. You could hear the cows mewing.
They
He
just
was
had a place they
going.
were trying to go.
Yeah, they were
headed
going.
up to bed already, and we kind of intersected them.
Yeah.
Like on their way up the hill, but they were. If we'd have been in front of where they were headed to, I think we would have killed the darn thing, because
Yeah.
he was not happy that we were
Could have been.
shadowing him.
Could have been the same bull we heard first
I
evening.
think
Guarantee
it
it.
was. Sounded like a big dinosaur. It sounded like a big bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About
So that
where
was
it
the same
'Cause
area
that's
that
right
you
where he
guys
come
heard on the
from.
first.
Same-
Yeah, that's right where he
same
come
exact
from.
area.
Was where from where that wallow was at. That's where that bull come from.
Yeah, it had to be the same bull.
Yeah.
And he just, I mean, I don't know how many times he bugled that morning. It was awesome. It was a killer encounter. It was fun.
It was
man.
something to get us on the road. Looking forward to next year.
Yeah. So that pretty much was the close of the hunt. Again, a lot of really close encounters, man. A lot of pressure also, and I feel like this year we definitely had more opportunities, and it takes time, you know, stacking those up together. Eventually, one of them, it's just like turkey hunting, you know. You get so many, you get on so many, and then finally one cooperates with you, and you get it done. But yeah, it was this hunt for me was I was left with not closure, you know, because it was a terrible situation with Ashley, and I'm so glad we got to go back home and you know check on her and got to do that with Dan. But at the same time, it's just like, you know, there was like this feeling of not a close for me, you know, and Dan, and we kind of had to interrupt it there, and then
it was weird. It was weird when you guys left. It's kind of like the air was let out of it. I mean, we kept on hunting. We hunted hard. I mean, as hard as we could possibly go.
yeah.
But yeah, that was the end, man. Me and Justin chased that bull around, and he kind of pushed his cows way up this basin above us and came out on this little point. And I mean, if we'd had another day to hunt,
Yeah.
who knows what would happen. But golly.
Yeah.
So as we was going down to get the camera, I think I went just one last time, and he went,
Oh gosh. Fading off into the sunset.
That was one of the few like full on lip ball, you know,
Yeah.
bugles that I heard, that week, other than on private.
Yeah. And so that's and now to the next story. The next drama. So this was thinking back on it, this was a drama-filled adventure we had.
Well, we were talking about bad public land hunters. Didn't you say somebody turned your camera away from the wallow?
They did, yeah.
We got
a
our
picture.
camera was facing the ground,
And there's a picture of a dude right before that.
reaching for it.
His
Yeah, there's a picture of a dude, and then he got our camera and just like pointed at the ground.
Yeah.
Or Justin's camera.
I hope you guys are listening to this. Y'all are a bunch of turds shooting
Some
you
people
guns.
really
and
are, man. I don't understand that.
Yeah. Just be kind and courteous.
And shout out to those who are still listening.
Yeah.
You're
Well, I mean,
troopers.
I hope people listen. I hope they take it in. But also for us, I don't want to rush these stories because this is stuff I wanted to talk through so we capture these memories. Because as years go on, it's going to be harder and harder to like think back to them. So to have it recorded, even if it's just for us, if nobody listens to it, I think it's great.
Yeah, this is the first time we've all been together. Too.
Yeah, it's since getting back. I mean, you got the holidays and life and everything else. It's the first time we really got to get together and kind of reflect back upon it. So it's cool reliving these memories. So, how did you guys split up driving when you left home?
We came after me and Justin got on the bull, chased him around on the side of the mountain, and got the camera. We hiked all the way back to camp, and it was like midday by then.
Yeah,
and we were just going to throw our stuff in the truck and head home. So that's what we did. We wrapped everything up, pitched it in the truck, hit the road, gassed up, hit the highway, moved mad dash, just trying to get back home to our families.
Yeah.
And I'll try to speed through it so we can get through it. But anyway, we're driving home, got through the night, and I was like dead asleep, man, because I was driving home by myself because I took my truck out there. So I kind of started getting so sleepy I couldn't stay awake, and Justin and Aaron were swapping out drivers, so they were in decent shape. Mm-hmm. So I told them, I was like, you guys just go ahead, man. I'm fine. I'll just sleep for a while on the side of the road, and I'll be home a few hours behind you guys. So they did that. They took off.
And then Brian and Jesse, you guys were together, right?
Yeah,
Brian and Jesse were jacked up on energy drinks, man. They was probably
They
were like in Missouri.
Kansas, yeah.
So
They were in Missouri by the time we come off the mountain.
So before we get to the climax of your big story, let's hear that story, Brian and Jesse.
So me and Jesse's driving back. We're probably an hour maybe in front of everybody. And they stopped to take a little bit of a quick break and nap, and we just kept on going nonstop. So we stopped in it was in Kansas somewhere, one of those little bitty gas stations right off the interstate, and I think I was getting ready to take back over. Jesse had just got done driving, so I got me a couple Red Bulls.
Keep going.
Good 5-hour energy drink.
Keep going.
Had some Mountain Ops Ignite. I don't think I drank a coffee. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I had any coffee.
I don't know how you're still living.
Not that stop.
Not that stop.
You might have had one prior.
So, but anyways, so
But he's not joking. 2 Red Bulls.
and it was
5-hour energy
it was
and
the
a Mountain
20-ounce Red Bulls too.
The big dogs.
Yeah, the
Oh,
big
man.
ones, and because I was like, we're getting home, like we're on it, we're gonna make it. Yeah. So I drank one Red Bull. I probably eat some Reese cups. I'm about positive I ate some Reese cups. Drank a 5-hour energy, and then a little bit later, I'm like,
We don't recommend this, by the way.
yeah, definitely. We're not doctors, but we know that this ain't good for you. Then I drank the other Red Bull, and
And there's no gap in between. This
No.
is like this one, then this, then this.
And I did
About
wait for the Ignite. I did wait for about 45 minutes before I drank
That's just
the
the time the other one is starting to kick in.
And the thing
He
about
still
the
hasn't
Ignite,
slept.
Yeah, the thing about the Ignite was I was reaching behind me in the seat, ruffling through the bag, trying to find it, and I find it, and I only had a half a bottle of water, so man, it was stout. So I drink it, and so I'm wired, I'm glued to the steering wheel.
I bet you were.
Foot on the pedal, and man, my chest started hurting.
I know you had a heart attack.
I was like,
First time I heard
my
about
heart,
this.
my heart started hurting, and like Jesse was asleep, so I slap him, and I'm like, hey man, is this does that mountain ops ever hurt your chest? And he's like, what did you say? Are you sure it's the mountain ops?
I don't know. I was like, what else have you had or something? And you told me. I was like, are you sure it's the mountain ops? Are you serious?
Yeah, or is it the
It's
two
a combination
Red Bulls?
of all those
Oh my
things.
gosh.
Or is it the 2 Red Bulls, the 5-hour energy, and the mountain
know
ops?
this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't do that.
And if you know Brian Napier, you always make one stop if it ain't a Sunday. And we made
Yeah.
that one stop.
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A.
That's it.
That's it.
Closed
Yeah.
on Sunday.
Yeah.
We did make it.
So, but yeah, we made it.
So
And then
anyway,
there's,
I pulled off to sleep, and Justin and Aaron went on ahead after I told them to go ahead. I'd be all right. So I pulled back out on the road after I woke up for I slept probably 30 minutes or an hour or something. And I woke back up, hit the road again. Everything was good. I pulled out to pass a 18-wheeler, and when I did, man, my truck just started shaking. And smoke started coming out of the dash, and I thought the truck beside me had a blowout, and his tire got hung underneath me. So I whipped it over and got on the shoulder, and finally, after I quit shaking, I got out and looked under my truck, and oil was just pouring out of it. So it had thrown a rod through the motor block, busted the oil pan, and just basically disintegrated right there on the highway in Kingdom City, Missouri.
My goodness.
So after I got my poop in a group, I called Justin. I was like, "Dude, where are you? You may need to turn around, and come and get me." Or something. I don't even know what I said, but anyway.
And in hindsight, if Dan would have taken your truck,
Yeah, you offered.
I don't think God would have done him that way, man. I think.
yeah, that was. I mean, that was.
I think God was
bad.
just kind of all giving us our own stuff to deal with. So that
Sure.
my truck was mine.
Yeah.
So anyway, my truck totally disintegrated on the highway, and Justin and Aaron turned all the way around, came back and got me another.
You guys were a couple hours ahead of him or something.
Yeah, something like that. We were at St. Louis. I'm not sure how far that is.
Well, by the time the guy told me, I finally got my wits about me. And I called a rollback, and he came, pulled me to a garage there, and stored my truck. And I got my pack out and was like, getting everything that's expensive out of my truck.
Yeah.
Take it home with me. I'd been there alone. They came and got me.
Yeah.
Trucked it on back home.
We made it.
A lot of drama.
There was a lot of drama that trip for sure.
That was a very mine turned out to be very expensive drama.
Yeah.
Very
I hear ya.
pricey drama.
Yeah,
How expensive was a new motor?
a lot.
A lot.
Yeah, I thought two airplane tickets was high. You had to buy a motor.
And I had to have my truck shipped home by a transport
yeah.
company.
And he had to pay rollback fee, and he had to pay for him to store it.
I'll just tell you, it cost me about $10,000.
Yeah.
God.
So there's that.
Yeah, I was just.
You could have
out
paid a
there
guide
or
for that.
something.
But we're just thankful you're with us today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
it
mean,
could have been much worse.
in all these
I was
situations,
pretty
they could have
salty
been so
about it
much
for a
worse.
long time. You can ask my wife. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't too happy about it.
Yeah. So that was the ELK 2021
Yeah.
Yep.
adventure. So, if you're still with us, we appreciate you guys listening. Obviously, we did this the first video, but I want to take just a quick as this is wrapping things up. But I want to go around and everyone can just share just briefly, kind of, if you could sum the trip up in just a few words, kind of like some big takeaways for you personally, and what this trip meant to you. We'll go ahead and start that if you want to. Justin, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so I think something that, other than, obviously missing my family, I think in the first video I mentioned that's pretty much a given, I guess, for all of us, is I put a lot of pressure on myself, a lot, in my career, in everything I do, really. Put a lot of pressure on myself, I always have.
Yeah.
And I think these trips help me to slow down and not put so much pressure on myself and just enjoy the process, because I find myself really enjoying learning a new animal. The elk is a new animal for me. The Colorado and out hunting in the West is a new landscape for me. So I'm really enjoying and learning how to slow down, not put so much pressure on myself, and enjoy learning God's creation.
Yeah, for
more.
sure.
And I think that's something I learned a lot this year, because we have learned a lot. We've all learned a lot and came leaps and bounds over 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And that's successful.
It is.
That's huge success to be able to travel that far and do that. And I think this trip's kind of helped me kind of rest in that a little bit.
For sure. Daniel?
Well, outside of the drama about midway through, it's life changing. It really is. I think my dad went out west a few weeks before I did, and he's like, "Son, you know, when you get out there, it's just," he was just talking about how great it was, and it never did really hit me to how amazing it is out there until I actually made it out there, and at the end of the day, I don't know. It's kind of life changing. I never thought growing up. I've always hunted deer and turkey and stuff in Kentucky, but I never thought growing up I'd ever get with a group of people where I would have the opportunity to go out and do that. Because there's no way I'd do that by myself. John's a lot tougher dude than I am. But I guess what I got from it the most was just how thankful I am for you guys. I learned that I have some really amazing friendships within you guys, and that I'm just so thankful that I'm able to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's about all I got, I guess.
For sure.
Yeah, I kind of followed along in y'all's first trip, and having a brother that went and following how y'all did it. It's definitely not what I expected.
No.
It's far from what. Not saying it's a bad thing. Like, I enjoyed having base camp and having roads and trucks and being close to town if we needed it and stuff. But two, it kind of shows you, like, I don't know, even as easy as it was compared to what your all's first trip was, it still showed you like what it takes to be. I don't know. Our whole life we've kind of sat and hunted, and not really ever had to chase. I don't know. It's like you're chasing something besides an animal when you go to that big a country.
That's good.
Like you go to chase, like, I'm not really an adrenaline junkie, or you're not really chasing adrenaline, but you're just chasing that feeling of being able to do something that not many people can do or want to do.
Right.
And that's kind of what it kind of left in me as I came home and kind of thought about it. I'm like, man, I wasn't successful in pretty much anything, but what you guys did the year before set guys like me and Dan and Jesse up for our first trip to where we heard bugling elk. We were in elk sign, and right off the bat. So I feel like anybody, I mean, it's like you go, you chase the elk, and you chase the bugles, and you chase finding sign, but in the end, like, I didn't find anything. I didn't kill an elk, but what I did do was just, I don't know, it's so much more than that. It's like, it's still hard for me to explain even.
Yeah.
Like, I'll definitely go back, but I don't know. I feel like next time I go back, it's like a first trip. I know your all's first trip probably was the same way. Like, I don't know if it'll ever top that. Mm-hmm. Just the feeling that, obviously, I got sick the first day, and I don't want to ever do that again. But I don't know. I feel like this trip was something that I'll never forget, just because of what happened. Not just all the good stuff, but it's just a special trip to me.
For sure.
And I'm glad that I wouldn't want to have done it with anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it again without the same group of guys, or maybe even in the same spot. I don't know. It's something I'll never forget.
Yeah, they say if like you want to test friendships out,
Oh
like hunting together.
Mm-hmm.
Like yeah, this crew here's something else for sure. You guys,
I think
are
we
amazing.
all kind of go chasing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just that experience of getting to be in the, in the mountains chasing elk, and it's not hard to do when everybody's enjoying it the same way.
Right. Staying positive and stuff.
Right.
Jesse?
I kind of I'll piggyback on kind of what these boys said, the same thing. I mean, there's no way that I would do that by myself.
Mm-mm.
But, with you all, you just say when and where, and it's like, we're in, kind of like what them guys said, same thing. So to anybody, like you said, still is, I mean, if you have a group of guys like we have, I mean, it is a blessing. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, not just any guy, like, hey, you want to go? Yeah, I thought about it too, and go. I mean, a friendship to do, go through what you've been through. So for my first experience, I mean, you all made it great, and it was a fun time. We didn't get into it, but, picked on me a little bit. It's all right, though. It's cool. But
let's get into it.
No, wait a minute. I mean, it was a good trip. And, for me, I mean, it's kind of like the story of Justin that his dad told these boys and all that about the hat we talked about this morning. It's just like you talk about doing something like this all the time, like going out there and all that. And it's hard to do it by yourself. So, like, once again, having people that do it is fine. So, for me to go and do this, like, man, I mean, I didn't even have a tag, but I was out in Colorado hunting elk. I mean, to say that you did that out
And found a shed.
Yeah, found a shed, I mean, so it's just, and for me, the friendship's great, and I mean, keep doing that, but I look at, I'm older in life, whatever. I'm not old, but I'm older in life, and I didn't have, dads that do that a whole lot or nothing like that, but I see my two boys, and I just imagine being able to do this with them someday. I don't even ever have a tag. To be able to take them two boys and have experience to take them and watch them, like I know you all, same way with kids and stuff, some of you, and all that, but or whatever, but like to watch them go out and do that, I mean, it would be awesome for me.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of the perspective I have on the whole thing. If I can kill something, great. If I don't, when I pay that $800 tag, even this year, if we go, Lord willing, we get to go, it's an adventure, kind of like what Aaron said, what we're chasing. And to be able to do that with friends and family and kids, that's kind of what, for me, I look forward to hopefully one day, just as I know you would love to see, like watching Everett shoot something, or what, like we did with the deer,
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't imagine amplifying those kills, them boys going together, us going on a big group with them kids. I mean, and blessed to shoot deer. Could you imagine watching both them boys bringing elk?
Oh,
I mean,
crazy.
I mean, I get chills just thinking. I don't know. So
Griff could kill one right now the way he's shooting.
well, I mean, he'd poke it maybe. 20 pounds won't do much to it. But man, I'm just so thankful, and it's just to experience that in the mountains, and it's just a different thing, man. You can watch, you can look at pictures, you can look at postcards, you can do whatever. We took pictures. I mean, you got one of the awesome cameras. This footage coming out is going to be awesome. But to truly embrace it and experience it, I mean, it's just, I mean, it's just like, gosh, this is legit. I mean, we're up here on the mountains chasing elk. Aaron's sick. I mean, 70-pound packs. This is real. This is happening. There's a bear probably right behind me somewhere and stuff. But so for me, man, that's kind of what I took from it all. So I'm just gracious and thankful to have the opportunity to do that with such great guys.
Yeah, so not really anything different from me. I think that it's you learn something every time you go, and I feel like I learned a lot this year. But the first thing to take away is the same as what you all have already talked about, is that friendship, and that's the biggest part for me. Is we hunt, and if we kill, that's a bonus. But like what we're doing together as a group of guys and a group of men, the fellowship that we have, that's special in itself. And, I cherish that. And secondly is just enjoying being there, being in the moment, and just enjoying what you're doing. Because I've always kind of, just like Justin said, put pressure on myself to kill that animal or to harvest an animal. And I've really, in the last couple of years, really tried to take a step back and just really enjoy the moment. And man, there's nothing better than just sitting there, and it's so peaceful and quiet. You don't hear a highway, you don't hear an airplane, you don't hear nothing, and then you hear an elk bugle, and you're just sitting there taking it all in. And to me, like, there's just nothing better than that. So that's pretty much what I took away from it.
Our fearless leader.
My takeaway, I guess, from this year, Western elk hunting is probably my favorite thing to do. At this point in my life, I've deer hunted. I'm the old man of the group. I'm 50 years old. I've deer hunted and turkey hunted my entire life, and been moderately successful at it. I've killed several of both, so and I'm good with that. And so elk hunting is just something that's I've kind of done a little bit of it here at home, but the Western deal is just new to me, man. And I just eat new stuff up. I just love finding something I can pour myself into. So I'm just having a ball learning how to do it. I mean, I'm terrible at it, but I'm learning. So my takeaway from this year is just I think we've made leaps and bounds, of progress in our setups, just learning the process, figuring out how to get it done. That's kind of the first year. Second year, learned a little bit more about how to hunt. And like I said, this year, even though we hunted close to the roads and stuff, I think we hunted way more efficient, man. Got way more at-bats with elk, heard a ton more bugling. So I just think we made a ton of progress. And, golly, getting to do it with you guys, it's awesome, man. I mean, this trip, a lot of people would have, either 2 or 3 of the tragedies we had happen would have sent most people, I don't know, back home or whatever. We just ended it for them. But, we made it happen, man. We got Dan home to his wife. And then you guys turned around and rescued me. I told Justin and Aaron when they came and got me off the side of the road, I said, well, I guess I owe you guys a kidney. So, I mean, that's just, I don't know. I'm terrible at I have all these thoughts going through my head. It's hard to articulate it, but man, you guys are awesome. I'm man enough to say it. I love you guys. I mean, I do. You guys are awesome. And get to have the kind of experiences we have out west, and hopefully get to do it a lot more in the future. It's just nothing like it, man. Nothing like it. So, God willing, we'll do it again this year.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think about the people I have in my life all the time, and you guys as friends, and it's something I never want to stop talking about it, because I never want to take it for granted of how special it is to have a group of people around you and this is in every area of life. I mean, all of us sitting here, we do life together, we do church together, we're raising families together, our kids as friends, our wives are friends. Like to have that core group of people that you share so much in common with, and it you cannot put it into words. It means so much, and to get to share these experiences with each other, it truly is amazing. And for me, this trip, the first year, and then also this year too, for me, it's like a reset, man. It like you get out there and you get stripped away of everything, and it's like God just really kind of puts things in perspective and prioritizes things. It's like you really are able to take a step back and say, okay, this is what's important in life. This is what's not important. Time slows down. Like you said, you're able to enjoy the process. You're able to be present. You're able to challenge yourself and push yourself and do hard things and be uncomfortable. And you come back really a changed person. I mean, you grow so much as an individual through those things. And like you said, there's, Aaron, you were saying it, like when you go out there, you're chasing so much more than an elk. And there's so many things that you're gaining and you're benefiting from, that it's, to those listening, I really encourage, even if it's not Western elk hunting, find something that challenges you in that way, that's an adventure that pushes you, that you get to share camaraderie and friendship and fellowship with people. And I mean, it's like Dan said, it's life changing. And I'm just super thankful for it. You know, to piggyback off what John said, I just love you guys so much, man. I really do. I appreciate you. And here's to many more adventures and trips. I think this year coming, we're all planning to kind of split up a little bit. John has some points in Wyoming, and so we may try to hit Wyoming. Justin, you got some points in Montana, so you guys may be heading to Montana, and then several of the folks may be going back to Colorado. And so potentially 3 different states this year in terms of elk hunting, which is crazy. And hopefully we can continue to lug a camera around with us a little bit, even if it's our phones or whatever, and capture some of these memories and, you know, put them out on the channel and stuff. In terms of this trip, I know this is the big long podcast and stuff. There's going to be a movie that's going to be coming out here in the next, you know, we're still working it out, editing and everything, so it'll probably be the next month or so. But that's going to be on the YouTube channel. You can check that out when it comes out. I think it's going to be great. I've been going through it and reliving some of that stuff, and the footage is awesome. The bugling and the, you know, going back to Jesse's, picking on Jesse, we were all taking some little baths.
John brought a shower.
Yeah, John brought a shower. But you want to tell that story, Jesse?
I think the culprit should.
Yeah, I think Justin Bray and Aaron Bray should tell that story, really. Or, you know.
I guess there's no getting
Worship
around it, is there?
pastor. I don't even know what
We're
you're
kind of on camera doing it.
Aaron's like, what are you talking about, man?
Go ahead, worship pastor.
We did the old never-ending shampoo to Jesse.
Yeah.
And he thought it was me and turned around and like.
I did.
And
He
like,
knew for sure it wouldn't be me.
No, I never thought it'd be the brace. I mean, never.
Dan.
I went straight to Dan, so I owe Dan an apology.
And then
I
went
went
to
straight to Jeremy.
Yeah.
And that's so I owed Jeremy an apology. And the whole time it was them Bray brothers.
Little dirty brays.
Little dirty Bray.
We'll get you. We're sneaky.
Them little bitty fellas.
And it would've kept going, and then somebody poured like a goop of it, and it was like, what in the world?
Yeah, so
there's
to paint
never-
the picture, here's Jesse standing there with his head down, like trying to wash his hair. And there's the Bray brothers behind his back just dumping shampoo continuously into his head. And so he's just got soap for days. And keep in mind, we're using gallon jugs of water, which were previously solid ice
We just got out of the Yeti.
that we just got out of the
Freezing
Yeti. And they had unthawed, and it was super cold. And so, yeah, that's fun for sure. Well, fun for some of us, maybe
No,
not
it was
Jesse. But,
I was clean.
yeah. Alrighty, guys. Any final words? Any final comments before we turn this thing down?
Well, Brian finally got an iPhone. That's my final words.
Yes, that was a big debate last podcast.
Yeah, he finally got him an iPhone.
We're
so-
all iPhone users.
Yeah,
now.
now all of our messages are blue. Praise God. Now I'm done.
Still not sold on it.
We're done.
Still not sold.
Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback to ever play the game.
And the Earth is actually flat.
Tom
Flattered
Brady.
a pancake.
Here we go.
Hey, Logan, can you hear
And
this?
So we got 2
Tom
more.
Brady.
Alrighty,
is the
guys,
goat.
that's going to do it. Thank you so much. I know this is a long podcast, but like I said, there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of things we wanted to revisit, to talk through, and to share. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening. As always, do us a favor and go down and what is it on podcast? Is it follow? Follow us on. Is that what it is? It's not subscribe.
Subscribe.
Yeah, give us a 5-star review on the podcast. Go on over to our YouTube channel, Live Hunt and Company. Give us a subscribe there.
Subscription.
Subscription. It's free. It really does help us out. Check us out on our social media platforms at Live Hunt Co. Brought to you by Raymond Noodles.
Ramen.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna call it Raymond my whole life. And yeah, thank you guys so much. Yeah, poor Jesse. Yeah, he was sleeping. He was sleeping in the truck on the way to New Mexico, and I thought you were gone for a second. You stopped breathing on us.
I thought I was going to get out of that. Thanks once again, worship pastor.
All right, guys, we love you. We'll see you on the next episode. Until then, we will see you guys later.